All right, welcome in. This is FST Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Striker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and this is the place if you are ready to dominate. Whether it be season-long fantasy, you got your draft coming up, we have you covered. You cashing out playing DFS, you're still one of the few? God bless you, we've got you covered. Straight up wagering, guess what? Say it with me, we've got you covered. All season long, Matt and Joe will be with you here. Joe Pisapia, of course, the author of the Fantasy Black Book. It's available now. And I got to tell you, Joe, it's changed the way that everyone looks at drafts, just at football in general. If you can come along and create something that can change the way a mass society looks at something, you got to be doing something right, my friend. Welcome in. I want to talk draft values right away, but let's say hello first.
Yes, hello for hour two. What I like about this hour two is we're going to start turning these fantasy investments into wagering investments too, because we love that. We love when those two worlds come together. We're going to talk about that. But I figured we'd start off going a little Oprah style. You know, Oprah used to do her favorite things, right? The things that she would get and she would tell everybody about. I got this air fryer. I got this book. I got this whatever it is. Matt's like that too. He texts me all the time. I went to Costco today. You're not going to believe what I found. He sends me links and pictures for it. And then I got to go to Costco and buy it. It's a whole thing. But these are some players that I've been getting a ton of shares of. And we just did the deep dive of Christian Watson. I literally have Christian Watson in every single league except one. There was one league where I didn't get him so far. And I am in well over 15 leagues right now. So just saying, like, get your Christian Watson shares. We're all going to sink or swim together. Don't worry about it. We're in this journey together. Don't forget. But another guy, too, we mentioned we were talking about the running back tiers, is Rachaad White, who I have a ton of shares of. Why? Because he keeps falling farther than he should. He was the RB7 last year. 7! Being drafted as RB14? Make it make sense, Matt, because it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. I mean, he's going as the 14th running back overall. So he was an RB1 last year with just 6 rushing touchdowns. Now, he had 3 receiving touchdowns for 9 total. There's a world where we go from 9 touchdowns to 12 touchdowns. And if he goes from 990 yards rushing to, I don't know, maybe 1,100 this year as he continues to evolve, and he's looked great so far this year in the preseason. He's got 64 catches last season. 64 in a PPR league. He is going to be possibly, I don't even want to hear this, he could be right at RB7 again or even higher. If you're talking about going early wide receiver builds and you're looking to make up ground at running back position, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Rachaad White. Is he the most spectacular, dynamic playmaker? No. Is he the steady guy out there who is going to get all the work and he's going to be a focal point in his offense? An offense, by the way, that went to the playoffs last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who won that division. Yeah, he is. So, again, I just don't understand it. I'm taking the value every single time because I think people just don't care. And I'm not drafting a team for last year. I look at last year's number and I see a baseline for Rachaad White. I see a guy who's already proven this is my floor. So I think at worst, he gives you the floor again and he's a top 10 running back. Boom, you've already got value. But what if another 3 or 4 touchdowns, he falls in the end zone, right? But what if he has another 5 catches, 6 catches?
Immediately.
My God, what's going on here? People, wake up. It's time to smell the coffee. That is Rachaad White.
Oh, geez. Let's continue this school of thought because, honestly, I like what you're doing here. A lot of fantasy managers are intrigued about the offensive ecosystem in Chicago. Let's talk.
Yeah, DJ Moore is a player originally I was not in on because his ADP was a little high, but now it's kind of sunk to like the 20 range. And I'm all in there. This is another player who I think has shown you an incredible floor. This is the best quarterback he's ever played with in his career, period. And I know they haven't played a down of real football yet, but Caleb Williams certainly has that potential. You got to go back to the Cam Newton days for him, maybe, like it's tail end of that. But this is a guy that played with Kyle Allen. He's played with Fields. He's played with a bunch of guys. He played with Sam Darnold. It's been rough for DJ Moore, okay? And last year was a career year with Justin Fields. He had 136 targets. He caught 96 of them for 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. Matt, if I just showed you 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. You would think I'm telling you about what? Amon-Ra St. Brown, right?
All right,
That sounds like
something along
Amon-Ra
those
St. Brown.
lines. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's DJ Moore in the 3rd or even 4th round of your draft. And that is the player right now that I think is being drafted at wide receiver 20. He's got he doesn't have a downgrading quarterback. He might even have an upgrading quarterback. Does he have more competition for targets? Maybe. We'll see what's left in the Keenan Allen tank, and we'll see if Rome Odunze can take that step as a rookie. But let's not pretend like DJ Moore isn't the best guy and isn't the guy to go to. So a repeat of this season, which, by the way, those numbers I showed you, that was good enough for wide receiver 6 last season. He's being drafted as wide receiver 20. Matt, to me, that's an extraordinary value.
You mentioned go-to guy. Let's go to an offensive ecosystem like Carolina. Who's the go-to guy there?
This one is a little bit more late round sort of selections here, but I find myself, because like DJ Moore, Rachaad White, these are like the interesting early players. But then sometimes in drafts, you'll see, especially this year, the talent pool is very suspect, right? There's a lot of rookies, a lot of guys in new places.
The bar starts to clear out after a certain time?
The bar starts to clear out. Right. Okay. So instead, what you should bring home with you is something that you know what you're going to get here. And Deontay Johnson, I think, is that guy. The Dave Canales offense is a very simple one. Last year, you saw Adam Thielen play well and put up fantasy points with Bryce Young. So, Bryce Young can make somebody a fantasy wide receiver. Thielen's another year older. Deontay Johnson's the guy they paid. Deontay Johnson at this stage of his career is far more talented and younger, more explosive than Adam Thielen. So I look at Canales remaking Geno Smith 2 years ago, Baker Mayfield last year. Now Bryce Young. Bryce Young still has a lot of issues. He's still a very tiny quarterback, which is still very difficult, I think, in the NFL. But in just a sheer PPR straight up format, Deontay Johnson's going to get you 12 to 15 points every week. He's going to have 6 catches for 66 yards. And the weeks where he has touchdowns, guess what? He's going to have a really nice week for you. So as a third wide receiver, as a flex wide receiver, as a baseline guy who's going to be consistent, I think Deontay Johnson's that dude. Now, he's not going to get a lot of touchdowns, but you're used to that, right? Remember the year he had 0 touchdowns for Pittsburgh? That's kind of where we're at. I don't think we're going to have 0, but I do think you're going to have a situation where Deontay Johnson is a good value pick and a guy that I find myself in the last 2 weeks of drafting getting more shares of.
We had a great conversation when we were doing the expert consensus quarterback rankings, and everyone's falling over themselves. And we said, oh, Josh Allen, Hurts, Mahomes. There's a quarterback, actually, if you just sit patiently and wait, once that flare gun goes off, like you said, I think you can have him at any time. Go.
Yeah, look, 2021, Joe Burrow was QB 8. In 2022, his healthiest season, by the way, QB 4. Right. QB 4. He had 4,400 yards. He threw 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He also rushed for 257 yards. It's not a huge total, but he can get out there and move a little bit. So it's something to keep in mind. He also had 5 rushing touchdowns that year. So Joe Burrow is far more mobile than people give him credit for. And he was mobile at LSU too. He used to pick up some huge gains there all the time where, maybe somebody wasn't open. All of a sudden he would just get loose and he would pick up that third down conversion himself. So Joe Burrow is sort of the forgotten man this year, it feels like. People were frustrated with the injury last year. The shiny new toys are very shiny. Richardson, Jaden Daniels, all those guys are really intriguing. But Joe Burrow, again, 9th round? You're going to give me Joe Burrow in the 9th round, a guy who could end up higher or in the same breath as Mahomes and the same breath of Lamar Jackson, those guys who went in round 3? Man, I'm going to take that every single time. And the risk factor, I think, is far lower with Joe Burrow than it is with players like Anthony Richardson, right? Or even Kyler Murray for that instance, who are both going ahead of him. So it's something to keep in mind if you're looking for QB. In single quarterback leagues, be patient. You might get a value. When we return, we're going to talk about some injuries and what they mean for your fantasy investments. Also, maybe for your early waiver wire. We'll tell you who when we return.
The sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here, giving you everything you need in order to dominate. We're talking about sleepers, we're talking about expert consensus rankings, but now the inevitable conversation ahead of many drafts is the NFL injuries, Joe. And we have a few here to talk about, and then we can let that conversation take us wherever we would like. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the 49ers because Eli Mitchell was the backup target there. And if we have any concerns at all about Christian McCaffrey, backing it up is important. Enter Jordan Mason, who looked really sharp in the final preseason game there for the 49ers, getting a ton of work. Now, you don't want to take too much out of this, but I was somebody in the deeper leagues that was kind of being a jerk, taking my shares of Eli Mitchell late a little bit and just I'm going to plug him on my bench and just see what happens, because if he's not valuable to me, he's certainly valuable to the CMC manager in your league, right? So this is about investment capital, not just for your roster, but sometimes for trade capital that you might have later on. So that's where now Jordan Mason becomes an interesting one. So if you are looking for those late picks here, or you've already drafted, Mason might be a guy in week one you can kind of slip in there for a couple bucks. People might not be paying attention to. You look at your roster and be honest with you. If your last player on your roster isn't somebody you're ever going to play, or you think has any value really, you just kind of took them, was like, oh, I'm going to take my second tight end, but I don't need him till week 12. Take a player like a Mason instead, because there's an opportunity in the next 12 weeks where Jordan Mason becomes interesting. And if he doesn't 4 weeks into the season, or even 3 weeks into the season, you just need to make cuts because you have other injuries, okay, it's fine. But in the off chance McCaffrey does have any issues with the calf that linger, right, or any other problems that might creep up, or Jordan Mason starts to get a little bit more workload in this offense, well, guess what? He becomes an interesting asset. So the draft is about accumulating assets. It's not about necessarily getting the best team out there all the time. Take those early picks, field the best team you can, then look to acquire assets. If your whole bench ends up being a bunch of running backs because that's where the value is, okay. There's a bunch of wide receivers, okay. Take the best players you can, get the best assets you have, and use that as a core roster strength. And I think right now the early beneficiary of this is Jordan Mason, who, is a medium talent, but I think medium talents on great offensive lines and great offensive systems can be very productive in fantasy. So it's one of those things to, keep an eye on in those 14-team leagues or even those 12-team leagues, or even if you have CMC, maybe that insurance policy might be worth that last bench spot for you. What do you think, Matt? What do you think about or adding Jordan Mason? Is that kind of a stupid thing to do, or do you think the insurance policy might be worth it in certain circumstances?
Well, I'm actually sour on CMC altogether. I know that may make some people upset. So the overall conversation, just to have to harangue my mind, my manager's mind, with having to secure that spot after spending all that draft capital. I mean, you almost have to go out and add that handcuff. It's silly not to. It's like you can't drive a car without insurance, essentially. But you mentioned that last spot in your draft. I want to ask you, if Jaylen Warren, would you be rostering Jaylen Warren? That's my question.
Yes, now more than ever, because now the draft capital's come down for him, and he seems like he is good to go. Again, talk to Dr. Deepak there, one of our favorite folks there who really knows what he's talking about, and he said, look for limited, as long as he doesn't, have any re-injury in the first 2 weeks here, and he kind of takes things a little on the slower side, you might get a lesser version of him, but it shouldn't be something that lingers long term. It was my very mild hamstring, was more precautionary than anything. So I don't think you're looking for big time September productivity out of Jaylen Warren. But the problem was you were seeing Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren going somewhere around like 22, 23 back to back, because nobody in the fantasy community knows how to value them, because nobody knows exactly how it's going to work out this year, right? Last year we saw what it was. That doesn't necessarily mean it's copy and paste. So we just throw our hands up as a fantasy football community of analysts and we go, they're kind of the same. And they might be right, but they might be wrong. Now, all of a sudden, Jaylen Warren becomes an interesting one because he has fallen into that RB3 grouping. Now, as an RB3, which is where I think he belongs anyway, as a flex guy, he becomes far more appealing, especially in those PPR leagues if you're trying to make up ground at running back. So now I would be more apt to take Jaylen Warren, despite the fact that he's got the injury, because now the price makes a lot more sense to me. And I think that's something that fantasy players out there this weekend should be paying attention to. That cheaper price with running backs is always worth the risk because there's so much upside there to be gained.
All right. Joe, with the news that Nick Chubb will expected to open the season on the physically unable to perform list, you and I both know that we've both been on that list many times. Are you rostering? I mean, I would think it's Jerome Ford. And can I call him Jerry? And if he's on my team, can I call my team name Hello Jerry? I'm going to pick him up right now. I just need you to endorse Jerome Ford for me.
There you go. Jerome. See, when you say Jerome, I go right to Morris Day in the Time. Is that bad? I don't know. That's right. But that's little Jungle Love. Great song. Anyway, when you what are we talking about? Nick Chubb. There you go. Nick Chubb. Name brand value, right? Name recognition. Dangerous, because we don't know when Nick Chubb comes back or what Nick Chubb looks like when he does, or what kind of team he's coming back to. So Jerome Ford, I think, once again, if running back did not go your way in your draft, right? Jerome Ford for the first 6 weeks of the season seems like a pretty good investment, right? I think he's going to be just fine. He'll perform as a mid-level RB2, and he's being drafted as a 3. So yeah, there's value there. It's not long-term value, so you have to make sure you have a plan as the season develops. So you got to be aggressive on the waiver wire. You've got to go out there and make sure that you're, acquiring assets too, or looking to make trades. But if you're looking at hurt running backs, like, do I want to take Jonathan Brooks, the younger hurt running back, or do I want to take Nick Chubb? I think I want to take Jonathan Brooks, and I love Nick Chubb. Well, I mean, look, you're talking about running backs that aren't going to start the season, right? So what's the best case scenario? You get Nick Chubb back, week 8, week 9? What does your team look like? Are you a 500 team? Are you 5-4? Like, where are you during that?
Their defense,
and can Nick Chubb then hit the ground running?
Games? No. It's not in his makeup, but I understand what you're saying.
It's not like he jumps in week 9 and all of a sudden gets 20 touches, right? I don't think that's the case. Do you? So really what you're looking at Nick Chubb is probably a guy you draft for the playoffs. And you got to look at that draft capital and where he's going in ADP. And I just don't think that is a good return on your investment. Like, you've got to be a playoff team for Nick Chubb to matter. You could trade for Nick Chubb, but drafting Nick Chubb I don't think makes sense. By the way, Mike Williams is going to play week 1. So get in while the getting's good, because I don't know how many weeks after that you might be able to start him. More FST when we return on SportsGrid.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here, warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Early on the turn, right hand from my boy, double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe have an absolutely great time. I mean, how can you not? The weather is perfect. You have so many things ahead of us. And just in this moment, I don't want to bring a down note, just as we all hear the news and it rocks, just not the sports world, but just everyone as a human being with regards, just take a second, please. Put aside all the nonsensical differences, put down your phone, turn to the people that you love and say that you love them. I mean, if nothing else, it's the least you can do. So Joe and everyone behind the glass, everyone at SportsGrid, I truly appreciate you guys because time is the one thing I can never get back. And spending my time with all of you, all the fans, it means a lot. So again, just on behalf of everyone here at SportsGrid, we love our fans. We love everyone with whom we work. And that's that. Joe, with that said, I'd like to pivot now to making some money because that makes people happy too. Let's look at the AFC Championship winner, the odds for the upcoming season. Where's the value?
Where's the value? Where's the beef, Matt Striker? It's in the chalk once again. And our producer, Sammy Arnell, was making fun of me about all my chalky picks this year, to which I said, what was the Super Bowl again last year? What? Oh, right. It was the 49ers and the Chiefs. Oh, yeah. I mean, here's where I struggle. And a lot of people, they try so hard to look for who's the big long shot or whatever it is, instead of making big investments in the big favorites who are big favorites for a reason. Football is a tough game. Injuries are going to happen. And when they happen to big time players, especially the quarterback position, the dynamic changes. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals last year. You lose Joe Burrow, those odds go straight out the window, right? Same thing would happen to the Chiefs if they lost Mahomes. But in the meantime, I'm going to look at the Chiefs again at, what's the number? Plus 350? Yeah, that's a pretty good investment on a team that is ready, willing, aware of the history in front of them. The first thing out of Patrick Mahomes' mouth after the Super Bowl last year is, well, now it's time to go get that three-peat. They know that nobody's ever done it. They want it bad. The AFC, they've kind of kicked around the last couple of years a little bit. They really have. Now, the Bengals have been competitive. The Ravens have been competitive with them at times too. That week one matchup between those two teams is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that. Is it going to mean anything in December and January? No, of course not, because it's September. But it's going to be fun, and people will take too much out of it. The Chiefs lost week one last year at home. Do you remember? To the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions almost went to the, to the big dance themselves. Yeah. They got awfully close last time I checked. So,
error.
I'm
the only thing that's
on the Chiefs. Well, look, I'm still on the Chiefs. The Ravens, I think the Ravens are more appealing this year because now they can really run the football.
Agreed.
But can they get enough play out of the wide receivers? And if Mark Andrews has any weird lingering issues again this year, health-wise, that's a problem. The Bills, hard pass. Sorry, producer Sam. Hard pass on the Bills. No. Sorry, Gabe Morency. The Jets.
Jets have the defense.
I
But they
love
can't
betting
get
the
through
Jets to win that division and then betting against them in the first home playoff game.
First
Is there
one,
anything
yeah,
more
right, exactly.
quintessentially chef's kiss Jets than that? But going back to the AFC, there is one team that is a quote-unquote long shot
Mhm.
that is really
Yes.
interesting. And that team is not the Houston Texans, the darling of everybody. It's the
I know
Cincinnati
who you like.
Bengals. Why? Because they've got the quarterback that can go into Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes. Burrow has been that kryptonite. And I think that's something to keep in mind. So plus 750, these are my two bets. Chiefs, Bengals, you got your good, invest a couple units in that favorite and then take a unit or two over onto the Bengals. And I think you do pretty well.
Yeah, and given these numbers, plus 350, plus 550 for Chiefs and Ravens, respectively, I mean, look, you could split units almost arbing it in a sense, and you can drop half a unit on the Texans just returning the 8-1. There's a lot of ways to really make money because of these numbers. So let's pivot to the NFC now. Again, everything in the plus. The Niners are sitting at plus 300. Then you have the Eagles at 5.5, but also at 5.5 are the Detroit Lions, Joseph.
Yes, the Detroit Lions. Look, I'm going to say it one more time, just in case if people don't hear me in the back. Since the year 2000, this is 25 seasons now, only one team has lost a Super Bowl and made it back the next year, and actually won it too. It was the New England Patriots in 2018-19, Tom Brady. So you could take that Tom Brady thing and crumple it up and throw it out the window because it's Tom Brady, and he's the anomaly of all anomalies, right? So basically, go light your money on fire if that's what you want to do by betting the 49ers here for this one. So I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to pivot to the Detroit Lions, a place that has a home field advantage in that dome, not only for the way they play, but that crowd. I think the Packers are a really interesting wager at 8-1, but the Lions at plus 550, that's the way I want to go. And the Atlanta Falcons at plus 1100, really intriguing. Everything could come together for them. They could run that division into the ground and end up having home playoff games. And if they do, watch out for the Falcons, especially with those two additions on defense they just made. More FST when we return on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here, breaking everything down ahead of a lot of people's drafts. Everything you need in order to dominate the upcoming fantasy football season, and also all of your sports wagering as well. Quick reminder, at SportsGrid and at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. Just double check that you're following along. Joe is going to be making us a lot of cake this season. So let's bake. Joseph, let's look at the NFL regular season MVP odds here. And we see some staggering numbers, some usual suspects. Let's start at the top. Patrick Mahomes plus 450. I mean, it's incumbent upon you just to put something on that, just on precedent alone. No?
Every year I do, and every year it makes money because at some point it drops down to 2-1 or even money, and you can cash out of it in most places. And then, so you've already made money. It's good. Last year, I just want to put in perspective, that number was plus 600 for him. So it's even smaller this year. So if you want to fade the top, I get it. You want to fade the favorites, whatever. MVP is very simple. It's about those guys who have high profiles. And if Mahomes bounces back for a 5,000-yard season again, do you really think he's not winning the MVP? And here's the interesting thing. Oftentimes, the guy that wins the MVP does not win the Super Bowl. So keep that in mind. Lamar, another good example of that last year, right? In some of the years where you had Peyton Manning win MVP or Brady winning MVP, they didn't always win the Super Bowl. Sometimes the MVP and the Super Bowl does not always go hand in hand. So if you want to take that data and say Mahomes is great and they don't win, and he gets this MVP award this year, maybe you do want to fade them and go bet on somebody else in the Super Bowl because the logic has told you it doesn't always go hand in hand. However, I always like to bet on two people for this award. One of them is Patrick Mahomes and then somebody else. That somebody else this year is not going to be Josh Allen at plus 800. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Stroud is fun, but I'm not doing that either. Joe Burrow is intriguing, but again, I'm trying to look at the narrative there and where that is. I think the Bengals defensively are still a team that are good, not great. So it does allow for more fantasy scoring and more points for them, but at the same time for MVP, I don't know. He's more of a guy that I feel like gets hot at the end and then just says, all right, we're underdogs. Let's go beat Buffalo in the snow like they did. Let's go beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead like they did. Like that's the Joe Burrow narrative. Jordan Love is interesting though at plus 1,400 because I said it before, Jordan Love was QB3 in the second half last year. QB3. So if the Green Bay Packers beat the Lions for that division, you could make a case in the media narrative. Remember, it's a media award. So it's going to be somebody that is either a star ready or somebody that they want to make a star. CJ Stroud is right at that precipice, but so is Jordan Love. And there's something about that old Green Bay Packer media love that it's still around there, all the years of Rodgers and Brett Favre and all of this. To anoint a new quarterback as the MVP, I think Jordan Love at plus 1,400 is a really interesting number. Maybe he doesn't win, Matt. But can I see this number being cut in half by Thanksgiving? I think you can. I think it could be like more 5 to 6 to 1, depending on how good of a season he has. What are your thoughts here? It's typically a quarterback award. I like Mahomes. I like Hurts. You can make the case for Joe Burrow, but I think I like Love. I like Mahomes. You can make the case for Joe Burrow, but who do you want to make the case for when it comes to MVP?
When I was 16, my uncle, who was a bookie on the Upper East Side, asked me a question. He said, why do you bet? He said, why do you bet? I said, oh, it's fun or whatever. He says, you'll never win. He taught me you bet to win like it's your job. What you started the segment with about cashing out, seeing Mahomes at plus 450, after the first 3-5 weeks of just a darling whirlwind ride, you cash out. Now, if you do that with a small increment, you're never going to really do anything. But if you're brave enough and you've maybe done well enough in baseball this season or something like that, where you have a nice padded profile, you can put a nice hunk of money and just let the book hold it. And then once the number changes, they will give you money. So what you're saying, Joe, is the answer isn't the names here. It's the numbers next to the names. And Patrick Mahomes' precedent and his record at plus 450, where we sit today, you're silly not to. It's like investing in a stock you know it's going to go up, a CD that you know is going to return. Okay, with that said, can you apply the same concept to the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year? Caleb Williams is at plus 120. It's not the same conversation. Jaden Daniels is at 6 to 1. Maybe there's that conversation.
Yeah, typically, again, these go to the quarterbacks more often than not, and Williams and Jaden Daniels are both going to be starting the year. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. You know that very well. Everybody's watching the show knows that. It's going to be for him to win this award over those two quarterbacks. Even if he has the season, I think he could have 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns, and Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams could still win this award. So it comes down to value. The value on this board is to bet Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels is 6.5 to 1 or 6 to 1 in some markets. So why not go that route? And again, what I want to see too is how Caleb Williams plays in October, November, and December in Chicago. I want to see that. I want to see when he makes mistakes, how he bounces back. I want to see how he deals with the Chicago media market when those losses happen, because it's going to be different. This ain't Southern California anymore, kid. And Caleb Williams is an extraordinary talent. And I think it's going to be fun to watch the roller coaster. But in terms of investment, Jaden Daniels, I think, is the one to invest in, because I could also see that narrative of, everyone's so hyped up for Caleb Williams, And then there's Jaden Daniels, who starts to put together hype reel after highlight reel after highlight reel. And people start to go, oh, look at this guy who is remaking this organization in Washington, and an organization that I think a lot of people have been waiting, and the league has been waiting to kind of rebrand. And wouldn't that be a great way to do it, right? It's a media award with the Rookie of the Year going to Jaden Daniels. So don't forget, narrative matters. That's what these awards are about. And the narrative you can make for Jaden Daniels is a really good case.
All right, now it's time to discuss the player that will offend the most this year. The offensive player of the year. Tyreek Hill is at the top, plus 750. McCaffrey, plus 950. Where are you going for value? There's a lot of names here. Bijan's on this list. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Joe?
Yeah, what you're looking for is the guy who's going to finish as the number 1 overall player in fantasy, right? So that's typically what this award is. We nailed this 2 years ago with Justin Jefferson, by the way. Last year, the investment was Jamar Chase, and it just did not work out. Injuries, unfortunately. So this year, it's interesting because do you see Tyreek Hill have another incredible season? Of course you can see that. Can you see Lamb having an incredible year? Of course you can. Chase, certainly in this. I would take Jefferson out of this equation. I'm taking 417 touches for Christian McCaffrey. I'm more crossing guys out here. Okay. Bijan Robinson at plus 1,600 is fascinating, because you could see a universe where this new coaching staff just says, here you go, and he has a CMC-esque season, and then some of these other wide receivers cancel each other out. So I think he is really interesting at plus 1,600. If not him, then I would go with Lamb or Chase again. So it's Lamb, Chase, Bijan. If you want to sprinkle a little bit on these three and watch them grow, this is another one. You're always getting big odds, 10 to 1 on most of these or more. When you get those, you can have a couple investments and then monitor them and reinvest. If it looks like Bijan's going well and ends up being 2 or 3 to 1, then you invest heavy again. Same goes for Hill, Lamb, Chase, any of those guys you want to do it with.
Great strategy. Love the conversation. Let's keep it going on the other side of the ball. Defensive player of the year, and then get us through the defensive rookie of the year as well. Let's go.
Look, last year, Micah Parsons was my dude for this award, and he kind of just faltered at the end and lost it, and it's really frustrating. But this year, let's go to Aiden Hutchinson, plus 1,400. Who can lead the league in sacks? I think it could be Hutchinson. Crosby's another one that's really interesting. I love TJ Watt. I love Micah Parsons. Watt's injuries have been a little bit of an issue for him, another year older. So Hutchinson, to me, is the interesting return. And then for defensive rookie of the year, you got Latu at plus 400, who's looked really good so far in the preseason. He was getting to the quarterback already. So it's not the greatest defensive class with a lot of big names. But the other guy I think you circled too as an interesting later pick potentially is Byron Murphy of the Seahawks. He is at plus 1,100. So Murphy, Latu, those are the two guys I think you can make some money with potentially on this award. So you have your favorite at a good 4 to 1, and then you have outside 10 to 1, the long shot that I don't think is that long of a shot to begin with. So when we return, we're going to talk about how to turn some of these fantasy projections into real money right on FST.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments. Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here, warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, welcome back in, Fantasy Pros. All right, welcome back in, Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia with you here, giving you everything you need in order to dominate. Now, Joe, you're out there on all these sites. You see all these lines, and you come down with your favorite fantasy props. And these are the ones that Joe pulls out and brings them to our attention. And then we kind of laugh about how ridiculous some of these numbers are. And then we rush and we put our wagers down. So the first thing here is Patrick Mahomes' regular season total passing yards. I mean, over 4,200 sits at minus 112. The addition of Juju Smith-Schuster does nothing to change my mind here. Outside of changing my team name to Juju's for Jesus. I'm thinking about doing that. So if you're in my league, that's me.
Nice.
Is this a smash, bro? Come on.
It is. Okay. Let's do a history lesson. You're a history guy. Matt Striker, once upon a time, history teacher. I'm history buff as well. So the only time in his career he has gone under this was last year, which was wretched. If I had to watch Kadarius Toney drop one more ball, I mean, I can't even fathom how frustrated Patrick Mahomes was at times last year. And you saw it visibly on the field. The guy was losing his mind at times. So last year was at 4,183. Okay. Then in 2019, he was at 4,031. That's because he missed 2.5 games. Okay. So if he had played probably even one of them, he goes over this. Let's do the other years, shall we? 2018, 5,097. 2020, 4,740. 21, 4,839. 22, 5,250. This is Patrick Mahomes, folks. Rashee Rice has shown up. He's the guy. They've already said that, look, we're waiting for the clarity, blah, 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 all that ridiculous speak. It's next year. Next year will be whatever suspension happens for Rashee Rice. It's not going to happen this year, okay? He's a value, take him. But Patrick Mahomes is going to obliterate this number. I am all in on this. The only thing that stops him is injury, and that can happen to any player, so you can't think that way. Patrick Mahomes is in a great situation to go over this. Rice, Kelsey, Hollywood Brown eventually will come back too. They drafted Xavier Worthy. Isaiah Pacheco is a solid running back. This offense is going to be good. Continuity is there. Offensive line is good. Look, man, this is absurd. This is based off of last year, and to me, it should be more. If I was setting this number, it would be more 4,350 or 4,450, somewhere in that range. Our fantasy projections at Fantasy Pros have him at just under 4,400. So yeah, if the fantasy projections are true, then he's going to absolutely just crush that number.
All right, keeping in mind that you got to be careful with those projections, but usually when the range is so far away from the number the book is giving you, then you have all that room where you can find some comfort. All right, let's talk about Derrick Henry here. Over 950.5 is the regular season total rushing yards. I have to believe that I am hearing your laugh. I mean, the guy's going over 4,000 yards, right?
Look, the only time he didn't was 2021, and he played half a season. He played 8 games. He had 937. So he just missed it.
1,000 yards games coming out the womb.
I mean, like, the guy's unbelievable. Boy, he must have been a big child too, I imagine. Like that could not have been a very pleasant experience for his mom. But hopefully he bought her a nice house now. I'm just saying, Derrick Henry's a big, strong boy. Anyway, look, man, the fantasy projections on Fantasy Pros have him at 1203. Okay, so 1203, 950. I understand he's 30. That's the only thing you can throw into this mix is that his age. I don't care. It's the Baltimore Ravens. They ran the ball more than anybody else, more efficiently than anybody else last year. And now they got Derrick Henry. Let's do the history lesson, shall we? 2018, 1052. 2019, 1540. 2020, 2027. Then that half a season at 937 in 8 games. 1538 in 2022. And then last year, a despicable, wretched, horrible Tennessee Titans offense. He had 1167. So yeah, I think we're good in Baltimore for him to go over this number, folks. Pound the over for Derrick Henry in this rushing total. This is absurd. I love this number. I've already invested in it. I think after this segment, I'm going to go do it again.
Okay, let's keep the train moving then. Marvin Harrison Jr., the number for total receiving yards is over 1050 and a half. When you think about that offensive ecosystem, I mean, Trey McBride is there. I think Benson takes over the backfield at some point, but who's really taking away any type of volume from old Marvy there?
Nobody. And that defense stinks. So they're not out of games sitting on leads. They're constantly going to have to be pushing the ball downfield and scoring. That's good for Marvin Harrison in fantasy. It's good for Kyler Murray in fantasy. 1176, that's where the Fantasy Pros projections have him, and I think that that's light. The 1050 is super light. So this is a gimme, another one, minus 112 on the over. I don't get this one. I think it's just being a little conservative for the sake of being conservative. But if you look at the rookies, right, who came into the league, you had 2020, 2021, Jefferson, Chase, those guys coming into the league having 1,400 yards. 1,400. Harrison can do that. Similar situation. There was really not much target competition, right? Especially for Jefferson that first year. And then last year, Puka Nacua set an all-time record. 1436 last year or something ridiculous? 1450 something? Crazy. So why not Marvin Harrison? I don't see anything stopping him except health of him or Kyler Murray. But regardless, I think this is an absolute gimme number at 1050. And the only reason it's that low is because he is a rookie and they're just being conservative because he's a rookie. That's it. That's the only reason. That's not a good enough reason for me.
Now, when you compare props, which you normally shouldn't do, but Joe, you often talk about having your expert rankings and having how everything matches up player to player. If Marvin Harrison's at 1050 and a half, Christian Watson is at 700 and a half. Given the offensive ecosystem, given the talent and caliber of the players, something seems extremely off to me.
This is a leap of faith. Vegas sets this number at 700 and a half, and it's that clean 700, so you know that they really don't have a good feeling for it. So, whenever you see like, oh, it's 725 or something, no, they don't have a clear feeling for it. It's about one thing, health. If he's healthy, it's over 1,000. It's over 1,000 if he's healthy this year. And that's not a hot take. That's just a fact. So as long as he's healthy, this number gets absolutely obliterated. But it is a leap of faith because he hasn't been healthy the first 2 years of his career. And that's why the number is so low.
All right. So now here's the conversation a lot of fantasy managers and waivers are going to want to have. Kyle Pitts, 775 and a half. Is there enough to go around there?
There is. It's him and it's Drake London. Bijan's going to work in the passing game too, but 775 and a half. Kyle Pitts is going to work as a wide receiver too. He's already been working in practice that way, which means he's on the field all the time. He's going to get opportunities. Again, this guy had 1,000 yards as a rookie. Kyle Pitts can bounce back in a big way in 2024.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe, we had a great time here today. Of course, I hope everyone has a great stress-free draft. Remember, you're really only playing against yourself. With that said, it's time now for Joe Pisapia's Super Bowl pick. And full disclosure, our producer Sam Yarnell, Sam Y, the sports guy, has his hot take, his Super Bowl pick. The Bills and the Carolina Panthers. He has it 6-3 Bills in one of the most exciting Super Bowls ever. Joe, how do you see the Super Bowl going down?
Who comes in to save that game? Who comes in to save for the 6-3 game? Look, it's chalky, but who cares? I'm not going with the 49ers. Spoiler alert. I think the Lions are in a great shape here because the Chicago Bears are in a bit of a retool here. Rookie quarterback kind of finding their own way a little bit. The Minnesota Vikings upside, kind of died this year along with that J.J. McCarthy injury, unfortunately. So I think they're out of it. So they really have to compete with the Green Bay Packers. And look, both those teams were playoff teams last year. Both are going to have tough schedules this year. But I'm going to go back with the Lions. And I think the Lions somehow find a way to get the home playoff games. And when they do, they're going to be tough to beat. They were tough to beat in that building last year. I think it's going to be absolutely raucous and crazy. I think they're my pick from the NFC. And guess what? Boring. We're going for the three-peat, folks. We're going to do it. They have it in their brain. Coach, quarterback, continuity. That's what you're looking for. So I'm going with the Chiefs and the three-peat. Yeah, it's going to be boring. So what? I want to make money on it. And last year, I had Chiefs and 49ers winning their respective conferences. And I did not like the way the San Francisco 49ers looked in the playoffs. I thought they should have lost to the Packers. I thought they should have lost to the Lions. And I had a feeling they were going to lose, and Kyle Shanahan was going to just get too cute. So I took all of that extra money after winning the NFC, and I reinvested it right into the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And guess what? Turned out to be the right decision. So this year, it might be chalky, but it's going to be right. But Matt Striker, we've got Sam's prediction, my prediction. What's your prediction here for the Super Bowl for 2025? Because that's when it's going to be.
Right. All right, so here's how it goes down. I think that the Chiefs' path to the AFC Championship is clear. I mean, off the top of your head, who really challenges them for that? In truth, Baltimore, maybe, but beyond that, the Chiefs have been there. So I'm with you on that one. And I think it's not chalk, it's smart money. The NFC, you're really going to have to get through Atlanta, Philadelphia. I think Detroit, because of the schedule, really says a lot, Joe. They only have 3 games outside of an indoor stadium in some regard, and I think that definitely can help. So I'm with you. I know it's chalky, but I think the money is Chiefs and Lions. But you can keep an eye on a team like Atlanta because, like you said, if they can get home field, it's going to be a tough place to play.
Yeah, the Atlanta addition of Matthew Judon in the pass rush and Simmons in the secondary to a secondary that already had some talent on it. The offensive line is good in Atlanta too. Very good running the football last year. Again, this is the same offensive line 2 years ago that made Tyler Algier a 1,000-yard rusher. So let's keep in mind that Atlanta, might be worth the hype train too. So fun week 1 too. A lot of amazing games. You got standalone games on Thursday night, on Friday night. You got Packers Eagles Friday night. We talked about the Thursday game too being hot right out of the gate there. Ravens Chiefs. So we're like jumping in here with 2 feet. And then Monday Night Football, you get the Jets again on prime time. It's so cruel. Why do they do this to the Jet fans? They make them go all the way to San Francisco. So Aaron Rodgers has to get on a plane and go 3,000 miles all the way to play the San Francisco 49ers. Does he make it out of the first series, you think? What do you think? With Joey, Nick Bosa chasing him around? Yeah?
He has to. Come on. You don't wish that upon anyone. Don't even speak it into
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Our bosses are watching, by the way.
There's a lot of teams that if I'm the Jets, I'd prefer to see week 1. The 49ers are not that team. The 49er defense is not the first out of the gate on the road. What are you looking forward to most here as we get into the season too? Because we have a fun year. What are like some of the players or circumstances? Like I know the Falcons are one we've talked about, but how about for you, Matt? Like who are you excited about seeing, or what team are you excited about seeing?
One thing and one thing only. I am looking to find those broken lines, those week 1 broken lines, whether they be the spreads, the money lines, the props. I'm always, to me, wagering on football. Look, I've wagered on baseball. It's a long season and it's still so long to go. Wagering on football just feels different. It lights a fire under you if you're a true wagerer. Finding those broken lines is what I'm looking forward to most, Joe.
Yeah, some interesting ones there too. Atlanta, Pittsburgh, week 1. That's going to be a fun one. Houston, Indianapolis in Indy is fun too. I wish I could say that I'm excited for my Patriots in week 1 against the Bengals. I'm not. It's not going to go well. But hopefully our fantasy seasons do. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. From Matt, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.